Now guys, also play again. Let's listen to the answers.
Next sections on requirements for successful release of these animals into the wild. I think you need some evaluation here. Which of these requirements are more important and which are less important according to the available data?
I had some information about that, but I wasn't sure if I needed to put it in.
Yes, definitely.
My first point, for example, that's to do with the fact that animals bred in captivity have to be taught how to survive before they're released.
Survival.
All the data shows that's absolutely essential.
Absolutely essential. The answer is A. Correct.
Unfortunately, if they're just released without training, they won't know how to hunt and how to avoid predators and so on. Some articles suggest that it's necessary, actually, to provide food and shelter for the animals after they've been released.
Some articles say that, but look what he said.
At least for the first few months. But the research suggests that this is less crucial to the successful reintegration of the animals.
Less successful, therefore, is letter B.
Right. You also mentioned the idea of providing employment for local people in the areas where the animals were being re-released,
That's the first.
and education,
Education.
so that they'll see the return of the animals into their habitats as a positive thing.
Yes, that sounds important to me, but I couldn't actually find any statistics or information about it.
So, he cannot find any statistics to support that. The answer is C. No data, no statistics. Okay?
And I'd have thought it was really important to screen the animals to be sure they were healthy before they were returned to the wild. But the figures show that actually it doesn't make much difference.
That's surprising, yes. Did you get any data on the effects of acclimatization?
Yes, it showed that if animals are kept on the site where they were to be released for a time in order to acclimatize, they have a far better survival rate than those released directly into the wild.
Have a far better rate of success than those who have not been acclimatized. The answer is definitely A. Okay? So, how are the scores? Alright, so all in all, section 3, please tally up. And let's now move on to section 4. Right. Now, section 4. Of course, you expect section 4 to be the most difficult of all. And there's only one speaker here, and the topic is always sort of like a lecture. And in this case, guys, you'll be listening to a lecture about tourism. So the lady in the speaker will talk about the different stages of tourism using the so-called Doxis Iridex model of tourism. So what Iridex means, she will explain in the audio, right? So let's now take a look at the items on the board. Or in your handout, you can use that. So the first stage is called euphoria. In this stage, tourists are seen as a what? And they are welcomed. And the people do that because tourism could bring a chance of what? That's number 2. The next section or the next part is apathy. Interest becomes sectionalized and contacts tend to be blank. When we say, guys, contacts, in this particular example, we don't mean contacts like people we know, but rather contacts meaning our interaction, the way we communicate, the way we relate with other people. So the relationship between the tourists and the locals tend to be what? How did she describe it? Tend to be what? Limited? That's a good guess. Let's check that later, alright? Now the fourth or the third section or the third stage is annoyance. So problems are caused by overdevelopment and what? So there are now problems rising, and this is because of the fact that tourism causes overdevelopment and what? Policymakers attempt to address these problems by increasing infrastructure. And the last stage is called antagonism, and in this stage, tourists now begin to be hostile to the locals begin to be hostile to the tourists, and the tourists are now blamed for a change in their what? That's number 5. Okay, let me first play this part, guys, and then let's move on to exercise 6 and 10 afterwards. Okay, let's now listen and get everything.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
In today's lecture, we'll begin with an overview of the impact of tourism on the